Hey guys, coming another movie for guys. Now this is going to be another review for Own It, Never Falking, Seen It, and this time I'm gonna again be reviewing a movie that is basically the complete opposite of the last film that I reviewed. If you guys saw, my last review was for Rush, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing a film that I really went into once again not really knowing a ton about, but of course I did pick it by a random draw, so I do have to watch it, and that, of course, is the 1955 suspense thriller, The Man Who Knew Too Much. And this film, basically the reason I picked this film out is because a friend actually sent this to me, the Alfred Hitchcock, the Masterpiece Collection. It has like a bunch of Alfred Hitchcock films, some that I don't think anyone have really seen or heard of. Definitely some more obscure ones are in here. So I figured, all right, I have this. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to try to watch all these. And, I just put them all in randomly. I don't know what half these films are about, but I just put them down. And I wanted to check this one out because I love Alfred Hitchcock. You guys know that. Alfred Hitchcock, I think, is one of the best directors of all time. I think he's definitely the best in terms of suspense. And I was really looking forward to watching another Alfred Hitchcock movie. I love his style. I love the way he handles suspense. He's great with characters. I just really think he is a very talented director, and I was really looking forward to seeing what he had to offer here. And when it comes down to The Man I Knew Too Much, though, unfortunately, while I do think The Man Who Knew Too Much does have some interesting set pieces and an interesting story, it is definitely one of the weaker ones, and that's okay. I think all directors do have misfires at some point, but I'm going to say right now, this is one of the weaker films. I was not really that into this film, not as much as I wanted to be, unfortunately. It was definitely quite disappointing, and hopefully does not set on a path towards the rest of Alfred Hitchcock's films. So I'm hoping the rest of these are definitely very good. This one just wasn't, I think, as good as it could be. But let's get to the plot of The Man Who Knew Too Much, because the plot of this movie is really interesting. Basically, this family is going on a vacation to Casablanca in Morocco, basically, and they're confronted by, and basically on there they meet this guy, I believe his name was Bernard, if I'm not certain. Let me check again. Yeah, Bernard, Louis Bernard, basically. Louis Bernard, he starts questioning them about a lot of very personal things, and they don't really think much of it, basically. They just think, oh, he's just being friendly, he's trying to get to know us, but after quite a few questions and a very interesting confrontation, Benjamin's wife, Jo, she starts to become very suspicious that there's more going on with Bernard than they think, and quickly the Conways learn that they've gotten themselves involved into a much deeper thing than they really anticipated, and that's really all I'm going to say for The Man Who Knew Too Much. But let's just get into this movie, starting off with the cast. So, like I said, this is definitely not my favorite Alfred Hitchcock film, but something I will always give him is that he knows how to cast actors. He really does. He picks, I think, the best actors possible, and the acting is definitely one of the highlights of this film. I think our two main leads are great. James Stewart is great in this role. I mean, obviously, he was just one of those actors that you put him in anything, he just lights up the screen. He has charisma right up, he just lights up the screen. He just is a charismatic guy, he's likable, that's just kind of the actor that he is, and he does a very good job in this movie as Benjamin McKenna. I really did like him, like I said, was very charismatic. You really did get into his character. I thought he definitely was very rootable. You can understand that he kind of was gullible and he kind of just thought that this guy was, just being nice to him. But I thought overall he definitely did do a good job. I really thought that he had some nice moments here. It's not my favorite James Stewart performance. Definitely my favorite is probably still Rear Window. Or It's a Wonderful Life. This is definitely not to that extent, but he still did a very good job here. I really did love what he did in this film. But Doris Day as well as his wife Jo, I thought also was really good. I definitely really like what she had to do. You could tell that the second that she met this guy, just something was off about him, and she really did not trust him, and I thought their bond was really good. They're in a very interesting spot in their marriage where they're trying to kind of stay relevant, and they're trying to keep their marriage fresh, because they're at a point in their lives where they're middle-aged, and they've been married for several years, and they're both kind of at a point where, they're starting to lose that touch. And, she wants to have another baby. He's kind of contemplating that. So things like that I thought were definitely very well done. Their chemistry I thought was very well handled in this movie. I thought overall they worked very well together. And I really did love these two actors as a whole. They definitely did do a very good job. And as for the rest of the cast, I thought they definitely all did a good job. But the one person who really did stick out to me immediately was Daniel Gelin as Louise Bernard. Is fantastic. I loved his performance here. The second he comes onto the screen, which is like the first scene in the film, you know something's off about this guy. He's a little bit more friendly than others are. He's just a little bit more into questioning them, and just something about him just doesn't hit you right. He has this very creepy demeanor, and he really portrayed that very well. I really loved what his character did here, and I thought he overall was definitely very good. I thought the Draytons as well, who played the Draytons, they definitely were fine. Nothing amazing, but they definitely were very good. And I also really like Ralph Truman as Inspector Buchanan. He also did a very good job. Overall, I thought the casting was fine here. There really was no one bad, and acting-wise, this film definitely does have it down quite well. But while the film does have really good acting, here's where we get to some of my more problematic issues, because while I think it does have really good acting, everything else, it kind of just falters with. Now, I should mention this actually was a remake of a Hitchcock film. Back in the 30s, he made The Man Who Knew Too Much, and I guess he thought that it didn't turn out as well as he wanted to, so he wanted to bring it to America, and his directing here is definitely quite good. Alfred Hitchcock really knows how to do suspense very well. You're very much, it's very unsettling, but what I love about Alfred Hitchcock film is how in the moment they feel, and how real they really are. He doesn't use the score a lot. He doesn't really, try to make it overtly cheesy, and I think he does a very good job of that. He keeps the story very simplistic, and I really like that's a story that's easy to follow. I thought that his directing here was definitely very well handled. I really thought the tone was very well established here. I definitely did get quite creeped out in several scenes, and he did a very good job with the suspense there. It's very compelling as well. You're definitely into the overall mission. I thought his directing definitely was very good. Where the film really falters is the screenplay, and you can't really blame that on Alfred Hitchcock. He's not the one responsible for the screenplay, but the screenplay here is really, really lacking. Notice when I talk about James Stewart and Doris Day, I talk about how they were really good actors, but I didn't really talk about their characters. Well, that's really because besides that one thing I said about Doris Day wanting to have another child, that's all we find out with these two. We don't know shit about them in the film, and that really does plague the film. One of the things that works so well in the other Alfred Hitchcock movies I reviewed to you is that those movies had really phenomenal characters, and they really knew what to do with those characters, and this movie just doesn't have that. These characters you've seen a million different times. You've seen the married couple that gets thrown into this crazy plot that they don't even realize that they were a part of. You've seen the husband who's in denial. You've seen the wife who's a little bit more on board with what's going on. You've seen the child who's very naive and just very cutesy and things like that. You've seen this a million times, and I just didn't really feel like they did anything that original with these characters. Now, I don't know if it was original in the 1960s. I really don't know. But now it just does not hold up well. I did not think the characters were that great here, and I really just couldn't find myself to be that invested. So when things would happen in the film, sure, I was definitely unsettled because James Stewart and Doris Day are great in the film, but I wasn't really rooting for anyone. I wasn't really like, oh, this person really stuck out to me, because they just didn't. There really was not that interesting of characters here, and I feel like for a film like this, that's kind of integral, and I feel like they really missed the mark on having really compelling characters. And the other problem with this film, besides the characters, beyond that, is that, like I said, the story is interesting, but it's a story that, definitely I did get myself invested in for about half of the film, and then the rest of the film just kind of meandered. This movie's almost 2 hours, it is 2 hours long, and you feel it, definitely. You really do feel that length, and it's mainly because, as good as the story is, this is not a story you can tell in 2 hours, and there are a lot of scenes that do meander. There's one scene, the most famous scene in this film, the Royal Albert Hall scene. I honestly thought could have been cut down a bit. It's like 12 minutes long, there's no dialogue. It's a cool scene, don't get me wrong, but I just felt like it was kind of just dragging on, and it was just kind of there just to keep the movie going and to keep you invested and be like, oh yeah, there's something for you. And I was not really as into the scenes as the movie wanted me to be. I wanted to be really into this plot, but I just wasn't because the characters were not that compelling. There's just a lot of scenes that I just thought kind of went on and on and on and meandered a lot, and it takes a long time for the plot to really get going. And that's the way it is with most Alfred Hitchcock films, but this one, no. It takes like maybe an hour to actually really get something interesting happening. For a while, it's just these three. They're hanging out in a hotel. They're talking about music. You know, you got these two trying to be a married couple. There's this other couple in there. Just, it was not especially interesting. And a lot of it just meandered a lot. Like I said, it was very slow. And I know I don't use that word a lot, that it was slow and boring. You know, usually that stuff really grabs me, but I just didn't care about these characters. So they're really, just because of that, I already was not as into this film. But on top of that, you have these scenes that go on and on and on. Obviously, that definitely really did bother me. What makes up for it really is the cinematography. The cinematography here is great. I think you've really got that Casablanca type feel here, and that's something that's definitely very well done, is that the movie really does know how to unsettle you, and it has a lot of really phenomenal sequences. I mean, there really were some great suspenseful scenes in here, one involving a church, one involving the Royal Albert Hall scene. Definitely is phenomenal in terms of action. I just felt like it went on a bit too long. But those scenes are very well helmed, and I think the choreography for the action definitely was very well handled. I don't know if James Stewart has his own stunts, I don't think he does, but definitely the action here was great. I thought the action was definitely very well done, and I definitely really did like the way the action was overall done. The movie I also found to be quite predictable. Like, where I thought the movie was going to go, quite honestly, is where it ended. I did not find anything to be that shocking. Again, maybe it's because I've seen this plot done a million times, and maybe in 1956 it was a lot more shocking, but it's just not anymore. It's not shocking. It's not really that surprising, and I just found it to be very familiar. Like, I wouldn't say it was bad, because it wasn't. It was not bad. It's just, it's familiar. I knew exactly where it was going to go, and that also took me out of the film. Most Alfred Hitchcock films, I don't predict. I'm always surprised by what he has to offer, and I felt like he was sleeping on this one a bit, and I don't know if it's because he did it once and he just figured he'd do the same thing again, but I don't really think he cared enough about the characters here. I think he could have done more with the overall characters, and it makes sense too, because Doris Day even said in the film that he wasn't paying much attention to her acting. He was more involved with the aesthetics and the cinematography, and I get that. He wanted to update it because he thought he had better technology, and he thought that the action would definitely be better. Well, that's true, but I honestly do want to take a peek at the original just to see if that one had more to do with the characters, because I just felt like they were really lacking here. I thought he could have done a lot more with them. The score here also is really good. I thought the score was definitely well done, but the film relies way too much on this orchestra throughout the film. I thought that they were completely unnecessary. It seemed like it was just like a cheap gimmick to keep us invested in what's going on. I really was not as into it. I didn't really think that worked very well at all. And the editing, like I said, the film's almost 2 hours long. You really do feel that length, and it really does downgrade the enjoyment of the film. I really was not as into the film because of the length, and overall, I was quite disappointed with The Man Who Knew Too Much. I really wanted to enjoy this film, don't get me wrong, but because of the action and because of things like that, I just couldn't find myself as invested as I wanted to be. I just found this film to be a bit of a letdown, honestly, and it sucks because I really wanted to be into this movie. I was ready to go into it and be like, all right, this is another great Alfred Hitchcock film, but sadly, it just wasn't. I think it has some great acting, it has some really good action scenes, but other than that, it's nothing I really would recommend. It's really nothing I'd ever really watch again. There's even a scene with Doris Day with her singing the same song twice, and it was literally probably just there to give her an Emmy. An Oscar. She even said it sounded like a kid's song, and I definitely agree. It's a very forgettable song. It really did not need to be in this film at all. But overall, this was definitely more of probably the most disappointing film I've watched so far for this series, and I am going to give The Man Who Knew Too Much, unfortunately, a 2.5 out of 5 or a C. So overall, guys, my review of The Man Who Knew Too Much. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie overall. If you have seen it, did you like this movie? Did you think that the suspense actually really worked? Did you like the characters more? Maybe there's something that you got that I just didn't get. That's very possible, definitely. That honestly is highly possible. That very much is what could have happened. But like I said, I just wasn't as into it as much as I wanted to be. But now, guys, comes to the part of the video where I talk about the next movie I'm reviewing. Alright guys, so once again, here are all the films, and I think you guys pretty much know the drill at this point. I'm just going to show you the films, things like that. So let's just click randomize and see what happens. And it looks like the next movie we'll be reviewing is Rushmore. Yes, Rushmore, a Wes Anderson film that I definitely am very interested in checking out, so definitely look forward to that. So once again, guys, definitely look forward to a review of that tomorrow. I've been wanting to watch this movie for quite a while. I bought the Criterion last year with the intention of reviewing it for classic movies, but we all know how that turned out. And I started watching it too. It's a really great film. I don't know why I didn't finish it, but I'm definitely going to get around to that tomorrow, so definitely look forward to that review. But that's my review of The Man Who Knew Too Much. Let me know what you guys thought of this movie overall. Love to hear your thoughts on it. Did you like it? What's your favorite Alfred Hitchcock movie? Things like that. But I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for Riverdale. Yes, I am still reviewing that show. I got a comment asking me if I'm still reviewing it. Hell yeah, I am. I'm still very much into Riverdale. I just need to watch the latest episode, then I can review it to you guys, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.